Hello, I'm Chris Hewitt, and as you can tell by my brand new t-shirt, this is a brand new installment of GameShock TV, the gaming show that one internet critic is calling not a bunch of unmitigated pants. Thanks a lot for those kind words, Chris Hewitt 437, whoever you are. Anyway, here's what's coming up in today's Not Pants installment. 3 is the magic number as we review Ninja Gaiden 3 and look ahead to the next Assassin's Creed. There's panic as laser eye surgery gets out of hand in Mass Effect. Plus, we round up all the month's top releases in our monthly top release roundup. Much like William Shatner, that was meant to be William Shatner, the Mass Effect series has long been a bastion of moral ambiguity and kinky alien sex, offering players a chance to save the galaxy either as a bit of a Boy Scout or a bit of a tool. Fresh from his promotional duties, Commander Shepard is back to round off the trilogy in style. But will your choices come back to bite him on the arse? Let's find out. So you can actually bite him on the arse in the game, huh? That's weird. Whoa! The hell was that for? Right, I'm docking a point for that. As they do every few aeons, ancient giant robots called the Reapers have popped up to do a spot of intergalactic spring cleaning using lasers, the cheats. So it now falls to you, Commander Shepard, to unite the galaxy's races against the metallic marauders by means of gunfire, diplomacy, and the moral merry-go-round of the dialogue wheel. With an impressively propulsive focus, Mass Effect 3 spares no time in ramming home the difficult choices you'll have to make, and we're not talking about what gender or facial hair you'll choose to go with. As you watch worlds torn apart and old friends go kersplat, it's difficult to remind yourself that essentially none of this matters more than the latest cast clear-out on Desperate Housewives. If you've taken the time to invest in the previous installments, it's heartbreaking. The action has also improved, armed with a satisfying kick and faster, more responsive controls. Nevertheless, there are still instances where the cover system falters and your Shepard skips around dry humping the scenery like a horny puppy. How do you expect to save the universe if you're trying to rub one off against a rock, you great wazzock? The core gameplay now feels much closer to Gears of War than any role player has a right to expect, with intricate leveling up and weapon mods, all much more layered than Mass Effect 2. In fact, every superlative you've heard about this game is justified. The graphics are gorgeous and varied, even if maps are essentially just well-decorated corridors. The music pulsates and swells with palpable purpose, and the voice acting is as A-list as its cast. But, in the name of fairness, it's not perfect, so here's a few points to burst the hype. Take it away, Mr. Loud Booming Voice Man.
4 reasons why Mass Effect is crap, even though it isn't. It caters to noobs!
Fair enough, you might think, but no! ME3 is perfectly accessible no matter what, but as an ardent geek with a raging superiority complex, anything less than playing Mass Effect 2 beforehand is shallow-minded folly. Folly, we tell you.
6!
No matter your choice of partner, the climax to your romantic dreams is a stilted mishmash of PG-rated robotic spasms, and therefore far too close to real life for comfort. We want passion, not a 20-year marriage simulator.
The ending!
The less said about that, the better.
There is no number 4?
You could come up with all sorts of petty squabbles. The fact that secondary characters look like eerie Photoshop clones, that there are far too many bald men with ginger beards to be in any way realistic, and this face. But what really gets our goat is that there is no more. It's an absorbing, wrenching and visceral experience and the most powerful sci-fi drama on any medium for quite some time. We are Commander Shepard, and this is our favourite game in the Citadel. Aha! See? Told you I'd dock half a point. This time the main campaign comes with an entourage of hangers-on. Within the game itself, multiplayer is a surprisingly excellent addition. On phones and tablets, Mass Effect Infiltrator turns out to be a great story locked inside the control scheme of a faulty toaster. Similarly, the free Datapad app is a nice way of keeping up with the developers' tweets, sat alongside a very slow version of Risk, ironically with all risk removed. Diverting, but not essential. Adding to a long list of maybe 3 games, Ghost Recon Future Soldier has become the latest hardcore title to jump onto Microsoft's motion control bandwagon. And with remote mapping and invisibility cloaks, it seems that Ubisoft has militarized Harry Potter. But will the result really be better with Kinect? Well, we sent our resident muggle Steve Hill on the Hogwarts Express to King's 's Cross to find out.
'Cause I love you so sexy. 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 Hi, I'm Steve Hill. This is GameShock 2012. Not sure how that happened. We are here in King's Cross, just off the whore-ridden streets near the canal. We've been looking at Ghost Recon Future Soldier. I've played a couple of missions of it. The PR man's looking at me now, so I can't technically give it a review. It seems a bit more kind of cinematic, dynamic. The first games, they seem very tactical, very laboured, one shot and you're dead. This seems a bit more like a video game. I don't know if that's a response to Modern Warfare 3, where everything has to be dumbed down. Typical Tom Clancy, massive conspiracy. You're going all over the world: Zambia, Nigeria, South America, Arctic Circle, Basingstoke. But what do I know? Let's go and speak to somebody who actually worked on the game.
Take him down!
It's actually not science fiction, it's anticipation. The funny thing is we used to be way more futuristic 2-3 years ago when we were working on the game, and people were looking at it and saying, yeah, never gonna happen, Like the augmented reality, for instance, where you're sharing information between teammates, Today we've got this on the iPhone. I mean, not as far into not as developed, but still, I mean, it's a free app on the iPhone. Imagine what an army could do with billions of dollars in research and development, right? Tom Clancy Studio had awesome relationships with the military, with special forces, with weapon manufacturers, with weapon research and development facilities. So we know what they're working on. We've got the sensor grenade, we've got the drone where you can fly around, which turns into a crawler. We've got that cover swap, where you can quickly move and flank enemies while being cloaked. We've got that magnetic view where you can see through buildings and see where the enemies are located. The only feature that is compatible with Kinect on Ghost Recon Future Soldier is the Gunsmith, which is the exclusive weapon customization system. We wanted to give the player this opportunity to experience this, and we've taken it really, really far. Every change you make to your weapon has an impact on gameplay controls. So if you, for instance, if you choose the hair trigger, the trigger on your pad will be more sensitive to your shooting. The game itself is not compatible with Kinect because it would be really interesting, and we've proven that Kinect is not just for casual gaming, it's also relevant for hardcore gaming if it's done properly. But the technology right now does not allow us to implement it in a game where that needs to be reactive, that needs to be on the edge. It's just not fast enough. Moving around, walking forward, walking backwards, you can't. I mean, if you don't have if you're not playing in your garden for now, you just can't imagine, having enough space to walk around in the map. So I don't know where it's going to go, but the important thing and the great thing of working in the video game industry is that whenever we get a new gizmo to play with, Kinect, like we take it and we look at it from all various angles and say, hey, this is cool, what can we do with it, and come up with a whole bunch of stuff. It's a question impossible to answer, but we're definitely excited about whatever's coming.
In these tough economic times, what better way to save money than with a good old-fashioned download? So cost-effective, it even saves you on shoe leather. With that in mind, we've put together a short selection of recent releases that should be nestling happily in your hard drive. A critically acclaimed oddity, we thought Journey might be a case of the Emperor's New Clothes, but like everyone else, we were seduced by a haunting, transcendental experience that melted our brittle hearts. Unfettered by anything as gauche as shooting, dialogue, lives, or even a tangible story, this PS3 exclusive really is a mesmerizing trip. Finishable in less than 2 hours, you could record someone playing it and show it on Christmas Day, somewhere between Fantasia and The Snowman. A work of ethereal genius, the question is no longer, can games be art? But perhaps, can any other mediums even compete? The unremittingly bleak post-apocalyptic survival map I Am Alive can loosely be described as Uncharted meets The Road. The time-dependent climbing sections make for sweaty palms, the all-encompassing fog is hugely disorientating, and with a paucity of ammo that makes Resident Evil look like Bulletstorm, the combat sections have more in common with lateral thinking puzzles than traditional shooters. Best of all, there's an achievement called, and we're quoting, "Provide tomatoes to the hungry lady in the foggy streets." That's living all right. An unashamedly old-school treat, Shoot Many Robots, as you may well have ascertained, requires you to shoot many robots, specifically in a side-scrolling 2D fashion controlling a character called Walter P. Tugnut. Robots yield nuts, which can be spent on a wealth of upgrades, as can actual hard cash via the dreaded microtransactions. 4-player co-op is a frantic business, and the whole thing is soundtracked by some supremely laid-back redneck guitar. Skeeter! sometimes it feels to me that people don't really understand games. Like they think they're just some sort of excuse for gratuitous violence and inhuman cruelty wrapped up as some kind of sick entertainment. Weird thing is, they're right, because this month sees the return of Ninja Gaiden, the only game with a QuickTime mechanic for carving through limbs. It'll warp your fragile little mind. Easily the most ludicrous and potentially divisive game of the month, the third installment of the Ninja Gaiden series ramps up the action to ever more preposterous levels. Kicking off in London town, the Prime Minister has been captured, and your first task is to overcome a heavily armed terrorist cell armed with little more than a trusty blade and a red right hand. Having overcome the odds, the action takes a surreal turn when you fleetly come face to face with a terrified Tony Blair in what is, to our knowledge, his video game debut. From there on, it's an increasingly deranged global tour, and while you do pick up the odd new weapon, there are still some improbable conquests as you casually decimate entire armies with a giant scythe, while knocking helicopters out of the sky with a bow and arrow. Combat is mainly a thumb-punishing schedule of button bashing, with the occasional QuickTime event providing a moment of sweet respite. The traditional ninja trait of stealth is in short supply, and it's an exhausting business as you pummel your way around the world, interjected by some arbitrarily lip-synced narrative. And of course, in the midst of the action, a falcon will magically appear to heal you and save your game. Well, of course. Ninja Gaiden 3, proof, if proof were needed, that Japanese game developers are, to a man, insane, and we love them for it. Well, that's it for part 1, but fear not. Scientists with Bunsen burners and clipboards tell us that part 2 is sure to follow. If we're not back in about 3 minutes, just wait longer.